Hello world, and also Scott Pilgrim if you're watching. Welcome to MaffmanJones. I am your host, John Maffio, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to 2014. I'm making a new video today, and it's a segment that I have not done on this channel, I don't think ever. Blu-ray segments. For the time being, we are stuck in the limbo month of the year, January, where everything is normally poo-poo. My second semester of my junior year in college starts in a couple weeks, so I figured while I have the time, might as well do things I haven't done before and get them out before I can't guarantee anything for the rest of the year, until at least the summer, where time is woo! But I will be partying. Anyway, I'm wearing my swag jacket and I thought it's appropriate time, and I love you guys. Your support and love is absolutely awesome, so I figured let's do this now before I can't guarantee and promise these videos. So let's do the first segment of my Blu-ray collection. This is a tray of collections and franchises for the most part, but there's also a couple separate movies that don't have anything to do with anything. But let's get started with the first one. This is Star Wars: The Complete Saga. It includes all 6 movies, including the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. I actually enjoy aspects of the prequel trilogy a lot because I grew up with it, and that's how I got introduced to Star Wars in general. The only problem I have with this is that, aside from all the great behind-the-scenes stuff, it has that alternate stuff that George Lucas put in to make the movies worse. Like, for example, with the old trilogy with Return of the Jedi, when Sidious is about to kill Luke, when he's making that look before he throws him off the balcony, he goes, "No, no!" Like, all these stupid, unnecessary changes that George Lucas made, and they just ruined the integrity of the franchise, and I hate it. I can't wait for the 7th movie, though, because J.J. Abrams is a boss. Next, we have the Lord of the Rings Extended Trilogy. This is a really cool box set. It's all gold. Even if you're a big fan, like, I'm a huge fan of this franchise, but even for me, it was a tough watch to watch all these movies. Return of the King is like 4.5 hours with the extended scenes. That's tough. But this box set is awesome. Next, we have the Back to the Future trilogy, all 3 movies. I actually enjoy all 3 of them. I mean, I have a top 25 of all time list, and I'll get to that eventually, but the first one is in there somewhere. The futuristic aspect of the second movie I really like, so I don't judge. I heard people don't like the second one as much as the other ones. They think it's like the fetus of the franchise, which I think is stupid. But I think the quality in this is really good, and it's got some good behind-the-scenes features, and it's Back to the Future. How can you not like it? Next, we have the X-Men trilogy, which includes all 3 movies, yes, including the Brett Ratner Last Stand movie, which I actually enjoyed in theaters when I was a kid. The first 2 were directed by Bryan Singer, who's coming back to direct a new one that's coming out in May this year. And I love the first 2 movies. The third one, I enjoy parts of it, but for the most part, yeah, it's a pretty stupid movie. I haven't actually watched it yet on Blu-ray. I haven't even touched it. So, overall, good franchise, good box set, it's got some good special features, and it's dope. Next, we have the Rocky franchise, and I'm pretty sure this includes every single movie. Yeah, Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5, and Rocky Balboa. There's something to like about every movie in this except for the 5th one. The 5th one is an absolute abomination, but overall, you can't go wrong with Rocky. Next, this isn't a movie, but it is the first box set of one of the best TV shows out there right now and probably ever, Game of Thrones. That's Ned Stark, played by Sean Bean. Does he die? Does he not? I'm not telling you, because you haven't watched the show yet, have you? If you do, you know. Next, we have the Indiana Jones trilogy and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I actually enjoyed as a movie. Even though it's not as good as the original trilogy, it still has some aspects that retain the classic qualities of Indiana Jones. And this box set is beautiful looking. It's got the embossed look, and it's like a book, and it's got that classic artwork. Avatar. And this is the collection. I don't know why this is so bulky. I think it's because it had a lot of special features in it, but this is because first they came out with the original movie on 3D and stuff, and then they released this box set like a year later. And this thing is really cool, and I don't love Avatar, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was a groundbreaking movie at the time, so I feel like I had to own it, and the box set is really cool looking, and it's got some cool special features too. And it looks amazing on Blu-ray, as you would expect. Going into the second row of this, we have American Reunion, American Pie, and American Pie 2. I don't have American Pie 3 because that's the movie that I actually didn't like out of the franchise. American Pie and American Pie 2 are movies that really remind me of my high school days, and the chemistry between all the main characters is actually really, really good, even though the acting isn't the best. American Reunion was also a return to form for that franchise, and I really enjoyed that when that came out. If you want to see the review, it's on my channel somewhere. And it's a really good movie for what it is. This next set of movies are movies that are really cherished in my heart, and I'm sure many of your hearts too, if you're a 90s kid or just a person with a heart in general. We got Toy Story 1 on Blu-ray, we have Toy Story 2 on Blu-ray, and then we have Toy Story 3 on, you guessed it, Blu-ray. The first movie is a classic. That's something that everybody knows. The second movie is debatable, but I think it's almost better than the first movie in ways. And then Toy Story 3 is one of those movies that just brings the franchise to a great closure, a great conclusion, and it's one of the only movies that every time I watch it makes me cry like a little bitch. So I actually have a couple DVDs in here included because I didn't get every Blu-ray for this franchise, but you know, is it Harry? The Harry Potter franchise. We got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is one of the first DVDs I ever got in my lifetime. This thing is like rare. And we got Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, DVD for Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, and the last DVD is The Order of Phoenix. The last three movies of the franchise I do have on Blu-ray. I think the movie's kind of boring for some reason. It's my least favorite of the whole franchise, but the ending is really good with, you know what, Snape kills Dumbledore. If you don't know, then what the hell are you doing here? But it looks beautiful, the movie, just like the actual story I didn't dig. Deathly Hallows Part 1, which was also kind of boring, but I loved some of the scenes in this movie, and the lead up to the second movie is really good. And Emma Watson, call me. And then we have what people claim to be the best one of the franchise, Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's heartwarming, it's endearing, but it's also dark and gritty, and it has these really intense moments that are really intense for kids. This franchise went from being very kid-friendly to being very gritty and for adults over the course of time, which it grows up with the people who watch it. I grew up with this franchise, so it's near and dear to my heart, and I love Harry Potter, so it's a no-brainer for me to have these, so love them. Next, we have X-Men First Class, which is actually kind of underrated, but I think it's one of the best in the franchise, and it's got a great cast, it's got a great story, takes place with the Cuban Missile Crisis and John F. Kennedy and all that stuff, and it's really good movie by Matthew Vaughn. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Then we have The Avengers, which is one of my favorite movies ever, too. It's one of the best superhero movies of all time. I was so hyped for this when it came out, and every time I watch it, I love it. This is the Steelbook, and it's pretty flippin' awesome. These next couple packages are like Best Buy special editions, but Captain America, it has the cover of the first issue on the back. And I actually really like this movie. People were underwhelmed by it, but I actually really love this movie. Captain America is awesome. Then we have Thor with the first issue of Thor on the back. And then we have the fetus of Marvel Studios movies so far, Iron Man 2. But I enjoy parts of it. It's a pretty bad movie, but I enjoy parts of it, and I don't know. It's okay. Going into the third row, we're almost there, guys. We have some steelbooks first. First is The Dark Knight Rises. This is the Best Buy exclusive, I'm pretty sure. It's got that awesome poster with the broken bat cowl. Then we have Why So Serious? The Dark Knight. This movie, it speaks for itself. It's The Dark Knight. It's a great movie, and it's got the Joker on the front. Batman Begins, which is actually very underrated, and it's a great movie. A great movie. Every time I watch it, I find something new about it, and I just love it the more I watch it. It's a great, great superhero movie. Then we have the steelbook for Goodfellas. Am I a clown? Do I amuse you? It's one of the best movies ever made. What else do I have to say? Spartans! Tonight, we dine in hell! And that's it. Steelbook for $300. And it's got King Leonidas, Gerard Butler, when he first got started with his career. Really, really good movie by Zack Snyder. Now we have a special edition of Gladiator, which is directed by Ridley Scott. It's a very good movie. 100 Years of Movie Memories. This is like Paramount's 100 Years collection, and it opens up, and it's got some descriptions on the side. But it's Gladiator. Now this Blu-ray right here is one of my most beloved in my collection. It's Kick-Ass. I get a lot of memories, I get a lot of nostalgia when I think about Kick-Ass when I first saw it, when I first bought it on Blu-ray. So I don't know why, I can't explain it, but great movie. Kick-Ass 2, that's another story, unfortunately. And Christopher Nolan's Inception. Burp! That sounded more like an intense athlete at the gym pulling off some sets and reps than the actual sound effect that movie is famous for. Next, we have Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It stars Tom Cruise. It's the fourth movie in this franchise, and it's a great movie. And it's got Tom Cruise climbing the tallest skyscraper in the world in Dubai, and it scared the crap out of me when I first saw it, but the movie overall is a very fun ride. Now here we have Warrior. It's a great movie that reminds me of Rocky, except it's not boxing, it's MMA. Very emotional, and at the end, if you're not crying or at least getting emotional, you have no heart. Next, we have a movie that makes me cry too every time I watch it, along with Toy Story 3, 50-50, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and surprisingly really good Seth Rogen in it. And it's a great movie, very underrated. If you have not seen it, watch it ASAP. Watch it ASAP. Another classic movie, Shawshank Redemption. It's got the classic artwork on the front, and it's a standard Blu-ray, but if you haven't seen this movie, what are you doing? Watch it now. Ha Sabenya Baba Beeps Baba. Lion King. Cabin in the Woods. This movie was one of my top 10 movies of 2012. It's a great movie that takes the box and reinvents itself, reinvents the horror franchise, and kind of ruins it too. But now here's a movie that I really love too. It's got great packaging because if you know Super 8 cameras and Kodak packaging, Super 8 is a movie that really hit me in the heartstrings too. It's got that Goonies vibe. It's like Sandlot, Goonies, and E.T. and then put some Close Encounters in there too. Star Trek. I'm not a fan of Star Trek, but when I first saw this movie back in 2010, I saw it late. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on DVD, and I fucking loved it. So I had to pick it up right away, and I bought the Blu-ray. A fantastic movie. Love it. Here we have the Universal's 100th anniversary edition of Jaws. The transferring for this movie looks incredible. It came out in the 1970s, mid, and it looks like it came out yesterday, based on this Blu-ray. Again, certain movies I have in my collection, I feel like I don't have to explain them. They explain themselves because they're so great and amazing. This is one of them. Jaws. Next is a movie directed by Edgar Wright, who is a great director, and this is underrated, like a lot of his movies. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And at first I didn't love it, but I watched it again after it came out in theaters, and I just it just sank in there after a while. And it's a really fun movie, and it has a lot of video game references, and it's edgy in a weird, eccentric way, and eventually just grows on you. Next is a classic that came out in the late 80s. It's Platoon. It stars Charlie Sheen and a few other great actors. Actually, a lot of great actors that make their little sprinkles in here. Even Johnny Drama from Entourage has a little appearance in there when he was skinny as hell. And the final movie in the third row of this particular collection here is... Can you read that? You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies. If you don't know that tagline, well, it's The Social Network, which is directed by the great David Fincher, and it stars Jesse Eisenberg, Justin Timberlake, Andrew Garfield, who's Spider-Man now, before he was Spider-Man. It might just be one of the best movies of the last decade. Now, to quickly breeze through the last row of this collection of Blu-rays and DVDs, it's all television. And there's a few series here, but the first one is the first few seasons of The Office. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 6 seasons. Next, we have a few seasons of South Park. I don't have them all. It's very scattered. I have the 8th season. I have the 11th season. I have the 13th season. Let's see how scattered and diverse it is. The 14th season and the 4th season. This is one of the first DVDs I bought ever with my own money, my own allowance money. Finger bang, bang, bang. It's South Park, so it speaks for itself. And then randomly, for some reason, I felt compelled to buy this like a couple years ago, but it's the first season of the original Transformers TV show from the 80s, which is something I grew up with. Even though I grew up in the 90s, I was introduced to it from television, thankfully, along with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all this crazy stuff. But Transformers 80s, somehow I watched this on TV and fell in love with it. Thankfully, I fell in love with that one first. Last but not least, these are 2 sets that are on the top of my big shelf that I hung up because they look so awesome. The first one is Wolverine, which came out very recently on DVD and Blu-ray. It includes the DVD, it includes the Blu-ray, it includes an extended edition, which includes blood, more curses like the F-bombs, and it's a great movie for Wolverine. Maybe not a great movie in general, but if you love Wolverine, you most likely will love this movie. And this thing is thick, man. It's not a book, it's like a freaking case. It's incredible. And then this is the first season of Breaking Bad, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and I fell in love with it right away. And as you can see, Bryan Cranston has no pants on. But do you see something else? Can you see it? Maybe not, but you see that signature right there? You know whose signature that is? That's Bryan Cranston's, because I actually met Bryan Cranston last summer. I'll cherish that forever. And with that, we are complete with the first session of Blu-ray and DVDs. I have a whole lot more, and maybe I got a little carried away with my talking, but it's been a long video, and that was only a little thing here and a couple other things, and that's it. I have a whole lot more where that came from, so I'm going to have to split this up into like 4 or 5 more, possibly, maybe, yeah. So, the next ones will come eventually, hopefully sooner than later. But if you enjoyed this Blu-ray collection video, then let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. I'm so glad I finally did this. What were your favorites in my collection? And tell me what your favorites are in your own collection. Do you have any Blu-rays or DVDs in particular that really bring you back to a moment in your life or a time that really, hits you in the heartstrings? Like I just told you with Kick-Ass and Toy Story 3 and a couple others. If you enjoyed this, please like it and subscribe to my channel, MaffmanJones, so you'll never ever miss a review or video from me ever again. Also check out my Facebook, my Twitter, and Wheel of Film accounts down there in the info box. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good weekend and enjoy the NFL games. Super Bowl Sunday is really close, but if you don't watch football, then just have a great month, I guess.